Now back to the show. This is AM 650's The Law Show.
Nice to have you with us today. Red Robinson and the Diner coming up at noon. We have a couple more segments on The Law Show today with our guests from Murphy Batista LLP. Scott Stanley and Diana Robertson are personal injury lawyers. Diana, perhaps one of the most recent British Columbia lawyers, having graduated on Friday afternoon. And Scott telling us here throughout the program today, there is a shortage of lawyers in British Columbia. And the reasons, Scott, have to do with availability of positions, the fact that and lawyers certainly aren't the only profession in which more people graduate on an annual basis than there are positions available. Teaching runs into the same deal. 3 times more teachers are graduated every year in British Columbia than there are positions available. And clearly, it's the same deal with the law, maybe a slightly different mathematical ratio, but still out of whack.
Well, the difference with teachers is we have enough to fill all our positions.
Yes.
The problem is with a lawyer, there's no finite number of positions that need to be filled. It's a free market system.
Sure.
And they're just simply, there's not enough lawyers coming online to replace those that are leaving. And there's the attrition rates amongst young lawyers from year 0 to 5 is huge. And the profession has always been really, really hard on women. And it's now becoming hard on young men as well. I mean, I look back at my class, graduated 20 years ago, and I graduated with 120 women, if you accept that half the class were females. And I believe the last time I checked, only 8 were practicing full time.
Really?
Yeah.
And I would think the numbers of male graduating students would be considerably higher.
Oh, I haven't counted, but it's appreciably higher.
Right.
And yeah, there's many reasons why people leave.
All right. And so, Diana, I wanted to ask you, because you are a mature student, and you've told us this story, and it's a fascinating story, but I'm curious about your peer group, your graduating group, especially in that first year. Yes. You arrived at UBC Law School. You had a solid background as an occupational therapist. You had a really clear roadmap of what you wanted to do. How many of those starry-eyed kids that you started law school with were there to become zillionaires come hell or high water?
You know, I don't think most of them were there with ideas of big money. I think actually most of the students that I know now, really wanted to make a difference. They went to law school for philosophical reasons, that they believe in justice and the law, or those who are intellectually curious. They didn't know exactly what was involved, and they were there to find out.
So we're reading financial ambition as too much a part of the plot in many cases?
I think so. At least with the people that I got to know, and maybe I gravitated to those that had similar values as me, but okay. But in my group of friends and peers, I would say most were there for the right reasons.
I'm just thinking back to my days in university. I did not choose the legal profession, but some of my colleagues did when I was an undergraduate student. Many of them were taking a sort of a pre-law BA or whatever, and it was all about get a law degree, become rich. And that was this is back in the 60s, mind you, but I didn't imagine the theme had changed all that much, Scott, but apparently it has.
No, I would think back in the 60s you'd have a stronger ideology. But,
I don't know.
But no,
we thought we did, but there was a certain mercenary thing going on there as well.
Well, when I was there, similar experience. A lot of really wonderful people, different perspectives that were there because they were curious. They wanted to do good.
Right.
And probably couldn't get into med school because I didn't have an undergrad degree in sciences, so they went into law school to try to do good. But I'm not sure these well-intentioned people are actually getting themselves grounded in the profession and working. And that's the problem. We're a profession that sort of weeds itself out. We naturally select and hive off probably the wrong people.
Well, there are a lot of perceptions about the legal profession that we, the public, hold, and this is a great opportunity to sort of stick a few pins in a few balloons, assuming that some of them are false. But the whole matter of people going to law school to become wealthy, period, a myth by and large, and yet the public thinks that's why people go to law school. They go to law school so they can get rich. And do whatever it takes after you get that degree.
I think people go to business school to become rich.
I think you're right.
But I don't think they go to law school to become rich. I mean, what happens is once you're a freshly minted lawyer and when Diana was a freshly minted OT, every professional that she came across that was either an OT or a doctor, everybody there wanted to help her do well and succeed.
Right.
But when you're a freshly minted lawyer, and what Diana is about to find out, is that half the lawyers that you come across or more are not going to want to help you out. They're going to want to destroy you. They're going to want to destroy the position you're taking, and they're going to want, well, not destroy, but they're going to want to defeat you.
Right.
And it's an adversarial system of law. It's the best system of law, but it takes a special personality to sort of adapt to that.
Right.
And you can imagine if it's an adversarial system of law, if you've got passionate, intellectually charged opponents on the other side, there can be a lot of bullying. Intellectual bullying, forceful bullying. It exists. I think there's a lot of male-female bullying that happens in the profession, and it's just untenable for a lot of people. A lot of these really starry-eyed people that want to change the world, it's just too much for them. But I think people can get over that hurdle, but where they really fall down is with the punitive business side. That's what I think is really tilting the scale.
Now, you were talking about this. First of all, I wanted to ask you, though, Diana, again, just having been through school and now just sort of on the threshold of entering the profession, Scott's referring to this male-female antagonism, sometimes bullying.
Yes.
Are you aware of this in law school? Do you see it in law school, or is it something you just hear about kind of out there once you get out of school?
I think my exposure to that actually came before law school, even back as a clinician, as a therapist, having to go to court and testify, and as an expert witness, as a clinician, your duty is to the court, and you're there to help the court and to clarify issues related to this individual's needs and what their problems are. And I can recall even I know other therapists. A lawyer would phone them and be intimidating and bullying to a therapist who's just trying to do their best. And I had an experience where I was going to just about to go into court, and a male lawyer introduced himself to me and said, "I'm going to crush you." I'm there as a therapist. I'm not an opponent. I'm there for the court.
But that's the adversarial mindset. Somebody
absolutely.
who's just about to walk into the courtroom, you're stoked, you're psyched, and you see somebody and you get a chance to be intimidating. Off you go, right?
Exactly. And so I suspect that when you have this large number, say let's say 500 graduates in a year, and there's only a limited number of articling positions.
Right.
And law firms, I think, by and large, I think are quite traditional still, and they're gonna, if they're gonna take on the expense and the responsibility of an articling student, I think
then
generally
it's going to be someone that really fits their mold.
I think there's a tendency to that. So even then, you're kind of hiving off the unusual candidates, the people that aren't going to fit into the box, the people that may represent our larger society. But they're not going to maybe get a chance to even get into the door of the law firm. So already you're hiving off people. I think, I don't know what the stats are, but I think it would be harder for a young woman to get an articled position because, let's face it, they're graduating. They've done an undergrad, now they've done their law degree. They're probably in their late 20s. They may be just starting getting married. They're going to go into a firm and apply. And the firm's probably, looking at the dollars and cents of it, wonder whether she's going to be.
How long will it be before the maternity leave kicks
Absolutely,
in? Right,
I think it's pretty. It'd be unusual that wouldn't be in the back of their minds, especially with the financial pressures. I was fortunate that I already had my children. I was all done with that, so it wasn't an issue for me. But I think it's faced by a lot of young women coming out.
But you were talking specifically about a young woman who was going through this interview process to become an articling student who had a child.
Right.
And then, but then, of course, if you have one child, the obvious implication is, well, she's just getting started, isn't she? So if she's coming here to our firm with one child, how long will she last before she's off for number two?
Absolutely.
And you knew this woman well enough to know that the couple had decided, this is it. This is the one and only. And so you said, point that out in the interview process, and it got her a job.
Yeah, and you shouldn't have to, but
But it did get her a job, didn't it?
It did. So I said, say outright, this is it. I'm not having any more children. Because otherwise, that's exactly where the firm's mind is going to go to, right?
Just to give you an idea, Sterling, a lawyer isn't really profitable like in a typical law firm. Our firm is a little atypical because of the type of work we do. But a traditional law firm that charges by the hour, a lawyer's probably not going to be profitable until maybe they've articled for a year and they've practiced for another 2 or 3 years. So that's a huge investment. And they're profitable at that point in time, but it's probably going to be another 4 or 5 years before they actually recoup the money they've lost. So it's a huge commitment for a law firm to take on a young lawyer.
Interesting stuff. Did you know there's a shortage of lawyers in BC? Is there someone in your life that is graduating, maybe high school or a college course this year, that has talked about joining the legal profession, has expressed some interest in the legal profession? Well, it's good that you're with us on The Law Show today. Our guests are Scott Stanley and Diana Robertson from Murphy Battista LLP, a Vancouver personal injury law firm, and we're back with more right after this.
This is AM 650's The Law Show. There's more of the show still ahead.